my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side.
Welcome to the Jesse James Show. I'm your host, Jesse James. Today's show is probably going to be a little different. Who shot Charlie Kirk? So I had a good friend of mine come out and actually tell me that, like, maybe the way I was looking at this whole Charlie Kirk scenario wasn't right, or maybe there was more to the story that I just didn't see. So he sent me over a couple links, and it started getting my mind going, started getting me going down the rabbit hole. So these are the links he sent me over.
Maybe we should also ask a question. Is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question, that maybe we shouldn't believe everything the media says, because I know I've been conditioned to ask a lot more critical questions over the last couple of years. Maybe.
That was one video. All right, let's roll into this next one.
Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. This is a beast created by secular Jews.
Believe that the Jews run the American government.
That's not a secret, Charlie.
Well, no,
Part of the team that writes the rules for Facebook, what Facebook could, should, can do.
Well.
It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. It's like time for you guys to wake up and say no more. Draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me. Members of Congress.
So the
Ben,
perception, the legacy media is like owned by the Jews. And
I was going to say, Ben, come on.
Israel.
You Jews own the media, Ben. So, I mean, come on. As you could tell by all the wonderful headlines you guys get.
Well, I mean, dude, the accusation that we own the media has not prevented, the Daily Wire from employing people who radically disagree with me on all of these matters. I mean, I don't agree with Matt Walsh on foreign policy. Matt obviously is a major host over at Daily Wire, and that's just my shop. And I'm overtly pro-Israel. Right? I mean, I'm not making any bones about this. I'm a Jew and I'm a Zionist. I'm not going to pretend that to say otherwise would be absolutely silly. To suggest that some sort of atheistic Jewish person by birth who does not care about Judaism or Israel owning the New York Times means the New York Times is pro-Israel is to ignore literally every bit of coverage they have ever done for my entire lifetime.
We're running out of time here, but just last question on this, Ben. I know this might be a tougher question, but Bibi said, quote, I didn't like he said this, I'll be honest. You can't be MAGA if you're anti-Israel. I don't like it for a couple reasons. How did you analyze that statement from Bibi?
I mean, I think that there is the ungenerous way of interpreting that and then the generous way of interpreting that. So the ungenerous way is to suggest that you have to hold a particular position on every Israeli governmental activity in order to be MAGA. Which, of course, is not true. I mean, you can disagree from the right or from the left with Bibi's policies, and you can still be plenty MAGA. I think the idea that Bibi is putting out there is that if you are taking Hamas's side against Israel in a conflict, it is very difficult to align that with the stated positions of the Trump administration or what President Trump himself is doing right now. I certainly is true.
You cannot look. I think you can have disagreements on Israel and still be MAGA. Obviously, you should be America first. But if you're pro-Hamas, you're something darker. And we shouldn't put up with that.
So the Ben, perception, the legacy.
And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits. It's the movies. It's Hollywood. It's all of it. It's like time for you guys to wake up and say no more. Draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me. And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits. It's the movies. It's Hollywood. It's all of it. It's like time for you guys to wake up and say no more. Draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me. And Jewish donors, They have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the number one.
Charlie Kirk was not.
So that just goes to show you that there were, I mean, he sent me a bunch more, list after list after list of just these views of what Israel has done or what it means or what it looks like it should be doing, or just these different views on the Charlie Kirk shooting. So it got me thinking. It got those wheels turning, got those gears turning in my mind, and it just sent me down this pathway of why? What is tying this? How is it tying it? Is there an actual tie to it? Is there actual something that he has? Is there grounds to this claim? Is there truth in there at all? So I started digging down the rabbit hole. Very hard. And started formulating, I don't know, it could be my own little theory. It could be probably it is a bunch of theories of everybody's theory out there right now. One big person that I have really collected a lot of this information from is people like Candace Owen, Ian Carroll. There's a bunch of different people out there that I've collected. Harrison Smith, Stu Peters, Jackson Hinkle. We'll go through a lot of these people as we go down this theory of mine. And I really want to try to give you guys the best information I can that I've collected. And let's see where it takes us. So as I said before, a lot of this comes from just me scrolling through, finding this information, tying it together. And I had one theory already that we talked about before in another podcast, in another show, but this is just another theory of mine. The other one was a lone gunman radicalized by the world. This is Israel's ties. So let's start off down this path. So Harrison Smith first said, "I'm not going to name names, but I was told someone close to Charlie Kirk that Charlie thinks Israel will kill him if he turns against them." And so that's what started this journey, was something like Harrison Smith saying that, right? Charlie Kirk has been speaking out against Israel for a decent amount of time, but here really lately, really loud, really, really loud. With that in mind and going down that path and thinking into that in that same instance, we'll start listening to some of these shows, but I'm not the only one saying this, and he's not the only one saying this. This friend of mine is just an average, everyday, you and me American. And he's like, "Man, I think you're wrong on the lone shooter." And I was like, "All right, let's listen." So here we go. Here's another from Rocket Legger, but this is coming from Harrison. So this is coming from him. This is coming from his mouth. Let's listen to what he says. But this is what Rocket Legger said. "R.I.P. Charlie Kirk. This was an interesting segment 1 month ago about the challenges Charlie Kirk will face confronting issues about Israel. Well worth a listen." We're going to give him the time. Let's listen to it, and then we could read this if we want to continue on there.
And you'll see this as we go through some of these videos. There's this like permanent condition of fear. There's an underlying sense, especially amongst like the Charlie Kirks of the sector. I guess walking on eggshells would be a way of putting it, but more like walking through a minefield. That they're so scared of saying the wrong thing. They're so scared of stepping on a landmine, of expressing something in not quite the correct way and having their lives destroyed for it. And that's a deliberately fostered condition. That's because they've been threatened or because the threat is implicit. That there is no let the punishment fit the crime when it comes to certain topics. if you step on the landmine, you die, right? So that's how they act. And they act like they're really carefully stepping around a bunch of bombs. And it's just sad and pathetic because they know the truth and they just won't say the truth. And what we're seeing is people struggling to deal with this because see how I try to explain this. You've got the outrage about Israel is so overwhelming now that people recognize we cannot sustain our reputation. We can't continue to, act as an authority if we continue to be sycophantically pro-Israel. So we have to change because the arguments that we used to make aren't working anymore. The names we used to call people aren't working anymore. So we gotta start talking bad about Israel just to maintain our legitimacy on the right. That's the way that the wind is blowing. Thanks, folks like yours truly and others who have been outspoken about this and upfront about this for a very long time. At the same time, the structure still exists of the landmine field. They're still operating in a system that will destroy you for becoming a threat to Israel. So how do they manage this? How do they walk this tightrope? It's an interesting question, and they're all struggling with it. Let's go to clip number 6 here. This is Charlie Kirk talking to Megyn Kelly about how frustrated he is that he's getting backlash to platforming anti-Israel voices like Dave Smith. Here's Charlie Kirk, again, trying to figure out how to dance in the minefield. Let's watch.
Look, I'm afraid because, again, I want civilization to win. I want the West to win. I don't want the Islamo-fascist barbarians to storm the gates of Jerusalem. I want the holy sites protected. I believe in the Holy Land. I love that Jesus walked on water there and rose from the dead and preached in the Mount of Beatitudes. Like, I feel the connection to Israel. But at the same time, simultaneously, when the hostile reaction is that now Megyn and Charlie are enemies,
Right.
boy, I'll tell you, like you're not gonna, I wouldn't say lose, but you will weaken and just basically deflate two of your strongest advocates if that continues.
You will weaken and deflate two of your strongest advocates if that continues. So he wasn't saying he wasn't saying right there, he said, so now Megyn and Charlie are enemies. He's not saying with each other, he's saying of Israel, right? So he's expressing frustration that despite being a lickspittle, just absolutely shameless devotee of Israel, that the slightest criticism of Israel now has made them declare him an enemy. He's like, I've spent my whole career dedicated to supporting Israel, and now the instance I have somebody on that isn't pro-Israel, now I'm their enemy. And now he's stuck in this position where he's like, I have to still support Israel, but they're both hurting themselves with the overwrought reaction. So like if he actually does care about Israel, he's seeing the way Israel's acting and he's going, you're destroying yourselves. So maybe there's some legitimate, concern happening there. But he's also trying to, justify this as if it's for the sake of Israel, when really he knows that he's got to criticize Israel because what they're doing is evil. And he doesn't know how to handle it. He's like, I can't, in good conscience, pretend I don't see what's going on, but then I'm obligated to support Israel. He's terrified. He literally started that clip by saying, I am terrified. He's saying, I'm terrified because I don't want the West to succumb to Islamo-fascism. Is that why he's terrified? Is that who's scaring him, the Islamo-fascist? Or is it the, Israeli donors to TPUSA who are probably frantic and freaking out right now and demanding that something be done to stop the bleeding. Something has to be done to cauterize this wound before we bleed out and Israel's support completely evaporates and never gets regained in this country and things get real different moving forward. They're real desperate to cauterize this wound, and they're leaning on Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk is going, but the more I support Israel, the less legitimacy I have. I mean, they're in a lose-lose situation. They're in a downward spiral, and they're flipping out, and they don't know what to do with it. They don't know what to do about it. I have an answer for you. I have a solution, Charlie Kirk. Megyn Kelly, here's what you do. Tell them to go F themselves, and you tell the truth. You think you're going to lose, so you think it's going to be bad for you to break the shackles that are weighing you down? You're the golem. You're the golem, Charlie Kirk. Do you know how the golem story ends? They've created you. They've given you an incredibly powerful platform because you served their interests. And now they're threatening to take that platform away if you don't continue to serve their interests. They can't take the platform away, Charlie Kirk. It's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. And if you want to tell the truth about Israel, you should tell the truth about Israel. You should be.
That's just the beginning of the whole situation where we're at right now with why I'm making this video. Why I'm actually making this video is because things like this that started in place months ago or years ago, or, you know, at this point when Charlie Kirk made his business at 18 years old and turned it into what it is today, that's amazing. Maybe the donors weren't happy that he started speaking out against Israel, or the investors were not very happy with him when he started speaking out against Israel. So, and then other people started getting aware of it. You've seen on the Megyn Kelly show, you've seen on InfoWars, how it all transpired and ended up being to what it is today. So we can watch the reaction video of what Harrison Smith said after this whole situation had, after that InfoWars video came out. We can watch that, what he actually had to say for that. And we can get a little bit more information, a little bit more context, a little bit more understanding, but you can start to see where the dots are starting to align, or the stars are starting to align. That's bad. That's not what I was saying. But you can start to connect the dots, or put a pin on certain situations, and we'll build this narrative for you. So here's what Harrison Smith had to say after the whole situation, where he came out and spoke on InfoWars about this.
But I wanted to make a video at least to talk a little bit about my tweet that's gone completely viral from last month. It's now the #1 tweet on anything Benjamin Netanyahu is posting. So thanks, guys. Really glad I'm on his radar now. That's cool. But it's true. I mean, I don't really have too much to add to it, honestly. I'm not going to say who it was that told me, because they've asked me not to, kind of for obvious reasons. So if they want to go public, they're more than welcome to. I don't have much to add to it other than basically, like a month ago, I watched an interview with Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk, and I thought they looked scared, and I commented on that, made a video out of it. And then like a day or so later, I was talking to this person, and the way I remember the conversation going was that we were just talking about sort of Israel and Zionism and Zionist influencers, and Charlie Kirk came up, and I remember the other person saying to me, well, you know, Charlie Kirk says he's afraid to go against Israel because he thinks they might kill him. And I said, that's crazy, because I just made that video about how Charlie Kirk seems scared. That's crazy that you're saying that right now. And that's the way the conversation, I remember it going. It may have been the other way around. I may have said they look scared, and they said, well, you know, he says he thinks, you know, Israel will kill him for going against him. But then we talked about other stuff. You know, we moved on. I don't really have any more information other than that. You know, at the time I was thinking, you know, Charlie Kirk seems scared he's going to lose his sponsors, lose, you know, donors, something like that. I wasn't even thinking about losing his life. So that was my reaction. It was like, whoa, you know, I just made a video saying that, but I wasn't even thinking he was scared of dying. I thought he was scared of, you know, losing support, losing his position. So I really don't have anything else to say. I wish I did. I will. Oh shoot. Sorry. I will. I don't know. I'll take your calls on it tomorrow on American Journal, on Infowars. But I wish I had more to say, but I really don't about that topic. You know, I think the sad thing is, or the truth of the matter is, whoever they identify as the shooter is, most people aren't going to think it's the shooter. So, in a way, the speculation was inevitable. I don't think my tweet was the thing that made people, think that Israel could be behind this. I think there's a lot of other reasons. But obviously, my tweet sort of frames it in a certain way that there is video backing up. But yeah, that's the whole story. I don't really have anything else to add to it. I don't have any inside information, and honestly, one of the reasons I don't want to go live right now is because there's not a lot of information one way or the other. So I'll wait till tomorrow and cover it in the morning with everything out in front of me. But I should pray for Charlie Kirk's soul, pray for his family, and pray for America, man. We're entering into a very dangerous timeline, and sort of the reason why, despite all of his shortcomings, I still gotta root for Trump and support Trump and beg Trump to fulfill his mandate and do what's necessary, because if Democrats ever get back in power, they're going to go completely insane. They've been talking about it for a long time. The insanity of the left is really out of control. I mean, Antifa launched a military style ambush of federal agents at an ICE facility in Texas a month ago. They lit a fire to draw the agents out, and then were stationed in hidden positions with rifles to fire at them. Do you know that happened in America a month ago? I mean, the media literally does not cover left-wing violence, and it tries to cover it up if it can't help but cover it in the case of school shootings, church shootings, which have been done multiple times in the very recent past by, left-wing activists. Luigi Mangione, the support from the media of these figures, and then the politicians pretty much openly threatening that if they get back in power again, they're going to be tyrannical. So we really have this very brief window of opportunity, and Trump has to do something. He has to do something drastic. What is there more to say? God bless Charlie Kirk, and we're going to keep his memory alive. And I think the only way to combat this is to make it.
All right. So as you could tell, he explained exactly what he meant, what he thought. He didn't think it was actually going to turn into what it is today, in a sense, in any way, shape, or form. That starts to open the eyes of the everyday average American, right? And it could be a coincidence that it just happened so close and so within such proximity of Charlie Kirk's assassination. So I'm going to just throw up another YouTube channel. If you guys want to watch it, you could definitely take your time and go watch it. It's Liberty Lockdown. They go over Charlie Kirk's murder, and they'll explain it a little more too. If you like their information, definitely watch it. It's from Harrison Smith. This is just a good shout out for him. So, all right, we'll move on to more information that just seems very ironic to me. All right, a few days ago, there was the release of all of the Epstein files, right? So there was this release of whatever they say it is, whatever they have of the Epstein files, which was, it's everybody's calling for it. The Democrats, the Republicans, MAGA, liberal, everybody is just calling for these Epstein files, and it's not ending. We need to keep that pressure up for sure, 100%. Everybody keep that pressure up. But a few days ago, and after listening to what Harrison Smith had to say, take a look at this tweet right here. So a few days ago, the DOJ should release all the Epstein files. Now it's Charlie Kirk, his assassination. Let's go ahead and listen in.
I think the DOJ should immediately move to unseal all the Epstein documents in the Southern District of New York.
Yeah. Everything.
And
Everything except child sexual assault material.
I think every file should be released to the public the same way as the JFK files. Let the American people decide.
Put them out there, because if there's nothing in there, then we can see there's nothing in there. Now,
So he's calling for all of the Epstein files to be released to the American public, to the world, needs to be given out to all of us, right? The Epstein files, everything needs to be released to American public, all of it. So he's calling for that, and now he's been assassinated. Let's keep going. We don't have to put that together right now. So just let that sink in. Let that settle for a second or two. All right, we'll go into another tweet.
The behavior by a lot, both privately and publicly, are pushing people like you and me away. Not like we're going to be pro-Hamas, not like we're going to, but we're like, honestly, the way you are treating me is so repulsive. I have text messages, Megan, calling me an anti-Semite. I am learning biblical Hebrew and writing a book on the Shabbat. I honor the Shabbat, literally the Jewish Sabbath. I visit Israel and fight for it. And there's another article out in the Times of Israel today. I could read it on air. I was just reading before I got on. Charlie, what are you doing? Like, why are you, what am I doing? I'm sorry. Like, let's just take a step back here. Like, I'm an American citizen. Yes, I want Israel to win. Yes, I'm a Christian. But like, some of the mess, and you saw, you've seen how I've been treated, Megan, by some, not all, by some.
No, it's very irritating.
It's
been so unfair. They were coming after you after Turning Point for, among other things, that you had Dave Smith there. Dave Smith is allowed to criticize Israel. You had both sides. The Israeli side was overrepresented.
Though. No, you're not allowed to. It's even worse than that. Again, I just want to repeat for the 5th time. I love Israel. I want Israel to win. But my moral character is now being put into question, Megan. Not my decisions. Not like, hey, are you doing this? Is it smart or is it dumb? But no, I am a bad person if I do this. And I could go, I mean, you saw it, Megan. It was trending on Twitter, thousands of tweets and text messages. And if I were to be charitable and generous, I will say the people that are attacking me are in a hyper paranoid state because they're at war, and war tends to make things black and white, and you're a hammer looking for a nail. So I'm trying to be charitable, Megan. Literally, I'm trying to cut as much slack as I can, right? Like, okay, what would it be like if all of a sudden I'm starting to see a pattern of behavior similar to what my grandparents saw in 1930s Germany online? How would I behave? So that's like my charitable kind of overcompensation spirit. At the same time, I'm like, but it's not defensible to be dumb, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's offensive. It's offensive to those of us who have been out there defending them in many instances against critics on our own side. And now you have a couple of comments like, well, what about this? Well, has it gone on too long? Like, is it time to wrap it up? And the thing about Epstein is just so bizarre. I don't know who he was an agent for. It might have been Israel or an asset, or it might have been nobody. But we're allowed to speculate about that. It's like there's some rule. You can't go there when it comes to Israel.
Well, you and I believe that we're Americans and Americans first, period. End of story. We are citizens of this nation, okay?
That's right.
Israel, we have funded, we have supported, and they're up against a sea of Islamic totalitarianism, and we should be cheering for them, right? Because they're up against barbarians and monsters, and we want them to win. However, here is Megyn Kelly and Charlie Kirk combined, probably 30 million social media followers, like pretty, right? And you and I have been holding this down, and you probably get the negative, oh, you're just shilling for Israel, whatever. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do what's right regardless of the feedback, right? But then all of a sudden, like, I host a person that I moderate the debate of, mind you, right? And I give equal time to Josh Hammer, equal time to a pro-Israel advocate, and my moral character is being put into question. And so I think it's a hyper paranoid, like, we're just going to try to, we're going to just stamp out everything type of practice. But it goes to the point where, if, for example, if I have less ability sometimes online to criticize the Israeli government without backlash than actual Israelis do. And that's really, really weird, isn't it, Megan?
All right, so that's another post and a whole video from Charlie Kirk showing all these ties to Israel that they were showing, what they were doing, how they were doing it, paying them, how they started censoring him, everything like that. Even though he was an advocate for Israel, but he's pro-America first. So if you start to be pro-America first and say even Israel, allies like ours or UK, if you put America above them, then you're wrong, especially in this instant with Israel and America and Charlie Kirk. I am not one to advocate for helping out Israel. I mean, they are our allies, they are our partner, but America first, 100% of the time. But this just continues to go down that same path, right? Or this theory or this concept of how Charlie Kirk started speaking out against Israel. And then when he started speaking out against Israel, the censorship happened. The articles in Israel saying, what's going on, Charlie Kirk? All right, we'll keep weaving this web.
And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the number one funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. It's like time for you guys to wake up and say no more. Draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me.
All right, coming in after that, like, it's insane. The pattern just continues. He started speaking out very loudly against Israel. Very loudly. Not against their values or their beliefs or anything like that, but the censorship. Israel starts calling them a Zionist. Really? How they fund, how all of these Jewish corporations, individuals, people, PACs start funding this open border policies with funding Democrats. Israel should not be able to fund anything in America to do with politics or anything. There should be no foreign lobbyists. Man, I keep getting sidetracked off of that. All right, let's listen to Charlie Kirk again. Another video on Jewish donors. This is from the Gentle News Network. So Jewish donors have been number one funding mechanism in radical open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies. We just heard him say it, but this is another short one just saying the same thing. This is loud and clear message to Israel. I 100% agree with Charlie Kirk right here.
And Jewish donors, they have a lot of explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the number one funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just the colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, it's all of it. It's like time for you guys to wake up and say no more. Draw a line in the sand. I don't care if you hate me.
Pretty much saying the exact same thing that I just said before because he said it again. They're everywhere. That's why Donald Trump wants to overhaul all of those same institutions, Hollywood, the media, all the colleges, education. It has been taken over, and you know, it might even go further than, I'll probably have to make a video on that too, showing how Israel has pretty much taken over every aspect of the American life. All right, we'll continue down this. I hope that Donald Trump comes out clearly and sends a message to Israel. If this is true and is shown to be true, that we're done. We cannot be having this anymore. So this is from Red Pill USA. Make sure you guys give him a like, a share, a follow, whatever you got to do. This is on Twitter, so check out his tag right here. So Charlie Kirk dared name the beast. This is a beast created by secular Jews. Jewish donors have been the number one funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies. And it just goes on and on like that. This whole Ben Shapiro thing, I'll swing around back on it later, but I don't know. This is a good video to watch. So Charlie Kirk was starting to ask critical questions of Israel. And this is to Ben Shapiro.
And one thing a friend sent to me, interestingly, which is, okay, Charlie, we've pushed back against the media on COVID, on lockdowns, on Ukraine, on the border, on, so like, maybe we should also ask a question. Is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question, you know, that maybe we shouldn't believe everything the media says, because I know I've been conditioned to ask a lot more critical questions over the last couple of years. So, Ben,
I want to pause it right there and just, we'll go back a little bit and just check out Ben's facial expression right when this was dropped. I don't think he was ready for this question at all. We'll just rewind it a little bit.
the media on COVID, on lockdowns, on Ukraine, on the border, on so like maybe we should also ask a question: is the media totally presenting the truth when it comes to Israel? Just a question, that maybe we shouldn't believe everything the media says, because I know I've been conditioned to ask a lot more critical questions over the last couple of years. So, Ben, some people would accuse Israel of wanting to ethnically cleanse.
Now I'll probably go with that is an eye-raising or eyebrow-raising comment or question right there to give to Ben Shapiro. So we'll end up circling back around on Ben Shapiro, but I just want to get those gears turning like it started to turn for me. So I ran across this article from the Gray Zone, and that same guy that got my wheels turning, a friend of mine that got the gears turning in my head about the Israel theory for Charlie Kirk. So I found this Gray Zone. So the Gray Zone, pretty legit. Like, I don't really like mainstream media at all. I don't read them. I don't really like them. I feel like they're bought and paid for by Israel. Nah, I'm just kidding. I mean, it could be true. That's just my opinion. That's just my crazy I should put on my tinfoil hat for. But let's read this article. Charlie Kirk refused Netanyahu's funding offer, was frightened by pro-Israel forces before death, friend reveals. So this goes back to that first Harrison Smith conversation, or a few videos that we showed earlier, or that I showed earlier about a friend saying something that he was frightened or afraid that Charlie Kirk was of Israel. So a Trump insider and longtime friend of Charlie Kirk tells the Gray Zone how assassinated conservative leader turning point on Israel influence provoked a private backlash from Netanyahu allies that left him angry and afraid. The source said anxiety spread within the Trump administration after a apparent Israel spy operation was uncovered. Now, this is all coming from a unverified or anonymous source, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. But an Israeli spy within the Trump administration? I mean, I 100% think that that's true, because how many congressmen and women and senates and politicians and governors are all on the Israeli payroll through AIPAC? You don't think there's somebody inside the Trump administration that is also could be spying for the Israeli government? Spying? All right. This is a great article, though. But this is where I wanted to get to, is right here. So, according to Kirk's friend, who also enjoyed access to President Trump and his inner circle, Kirk strongly warned Trump last June against bombing Iran on Israel's behalf. Charlie was the one person who did that, they said, recalling how Trump barked at him in response and angrily shut down the conversation. The source believes the incident confirmed in Kirk's mind that the President of the United States had fallen under control of malign foreign power and was leading his country into a series of disastrous conflicts. So that goes back to the U.S. bombing the Iranian nuclear facilities and whatnot. If there was any kind of way to show this or to do that, I think Trump did the right thing. Was it actual right by doing it on the behalf of Israel? I don't think so. I don't think it was on the behalf of Israel. I think it was support from both sides, from Trump's side and from Israel's side, and probably a lot of other nations too. Definitely take a read into this Gray Zone. I'll add it to the description. So make sure you guys look at this, read this. It is a good read, especially when you get down into the Israel did it theory. So in this section, it says right here, Kirk was killed this September 10th with a single shot by a sniper apparently positioned on a rooftop 200 meters away. He was shot while seated before a crowd of thousands at Utah State University in Orem. Utah had the first leg of his American comeback tour. The scene of Kirk collapsing from the impact of the gunshot to his neck just as he began answering a question about transgender mass shooting was perhaps the most shockingly vivid spectacle of assassination, and is certainly the most viral in human history. There is currently no evidence of Israeli government role in Kirk's assassination. However, that does not stop thousands of social media users from speculating that the pro-Trump operative shifted views on the issue, contributing in some way to his death. By the time the publication, over 100,000 Twitter X users had liked a September 11th post by libertarian influence Ian Carl declaring about Kirk. That's what drove me to Ian Carl. He was their friend. He was basically dedicated his life to them, and they murdered him in front of his family. Israel just shot themselves. Many advancing this unsubstantiated theory have pointed out to Twitter/X posts by Harrison Smith, again, where I got a lot of the information from. The Gray Zone sent me that way. And almost a month before Kirk's assassination, he was told by someone close to Charlie Kirk that Kirk thinks Israel will kill him if he turns against Israel. I mean, we can continue this speculation, and it just shows how much that, it's just getting more and more like factual and not like a theory anymore. It even goes to where Netanyahu commented on the situation prior to Donald Trump even commenting on the situation. So take a look at this. This is from Benjamin Netanyahu. Charlie Kirk was murdered for speaking the truth and defending freedom. Is he saying speaking the truth on the Megyn Kelly show or with Ben Shapiro? Or even on his own podcast? All right, let's keep reading this. A lion-hearted friend of Israel, he fought the lies and stood tall for Judeo-Christian civilization. I spoke to him only 2 weeks ago, invited him to Israel. Sadly, the visit will not be taking place. It was not taking place because Charlie Kirk declined that invitation to Israel. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. We as American citizens have that freedom of speech. They do not have that in Israel. Let that sink in also. He started speaking the truth, just like Netanyahu said a couple months ago, speaking out against Israel, speaking the truth, defending freedom, defending our freedom of speech against Israel in this point. Maybe they did kill him. Maybe they didn't. So, all right. There's been a lot of different speculation on different shooters and people that the police picked up or the FBI were looking at. So one guy that I've posted about, I've seen a couple other posts about, even our co-host on the other show was talking about it too, was this older gentleman, right? So we'll roll back into this theory of this shooter. Or this was a guy that was arrested pretty much right after the situation unfolded with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So this shooter, some interesting facts came up. He was arrested right after this situation happened, and he was yelling some weird stuff like shoot me, that kind of thing. But as I started digging into him to see what this link was, if there was anything, he come to find out he ended up being like a Jewish guy living in Utah, where it's one of the few. So he went there. So he has the Jewish ties to him. And then on top of that, he started creating a ruckus right after it happened, distraction, that kind of stuff. And then a video shows up of this 9/11 theory that he was a part of. So let's give it a listen, and then we'll talk about it some more.
It was an interesting time when I went to. I was in Denver. Just on September 10th, 2001, and I'm a huge Broncos fan, so it was the opening night of Denver Broncos Stadium. I went down there, and we were playing the Giants that night, and so it was a huge event for us. I even remembered everything that happened. We opened the stadium on September 10th, 2001, and so, I was, we won the Giants, which was good. I remember that was when Ed McCaffrey actually got hurt that night on a season-ending injury. And so I'm ready to leave the hotel on September 11th, early that morning, and go back to Salt Lake City. And they said, come down, look in the lobby. Something's happening here. They said there's a plane that's headed towards one of the towers in New York City. And we're just glued. Everybody in the lobby is just going, wow, this is pilot error. What's going on here? You know, it was very confusing. And we see that plane go in, and we just think, wow, you know. And then I think it was, what, a 912 or something like that, that second plane hit that tower. Immediately chaos in that hotel lobby. There was, everybody was on cell phones. People had friends, family, everybody they, you know, knew in New York. And we just said, oh, you know, that's got to be something. That's terrorist attack or something like that. We weren't quite sure. We thought that, because, you know, there'd been an attack like several years earlier in the basement of that tower. We thought that, well, this was the same guy that had come in and just kind of finished the job. And so, you know, Denver immediately turned. Now, Denver does have a World Trade Center, but it's really not on the same level as the one in New York City. I mean, it's just an operating facility. It's just a business facility. So I don't think it had any kind of particular attraction towards what was happening at the time. But I go down in Denver, downtown, you know, to see what's going on, and it really hadn't hit people. I mean, people, it was kind of business as usual for a while. And then that night, they had frozen all the airplanes and all the flights out. I couldn't get home. So I was stuck a little bit longer, I think at least 2 or 3 days longer in Denver, and was just glued to my TV, just wondering what was always happening, because, you know, we just didn't know exactly that, you know, that it was exactly a terrorist attack. We did have some idea, you know, there was something going on, because we dealt with Ben Laden before in separate instances, so we did suspect that it was Al-Qaeda involved in that. I've since been to Ground Zero at least twice. The first time they were just barely cleaning up. I think I was there two years later up at New York City. I was with I went up there for we actually had the National Republican Convention up in New York, and I went up for the National Convention, and got to see a little bit of Ground Zero. In fact, our headquarters was right across the street of the Marriott Hotel, and we could oversee what was going on there. We could see some of the workers and the things that were going on. Just very sad. Couldn't be very close to it, because they were still cleaning the place up, and it was still a recovery effort. And so what I did, and I left a little note on. You know, I drew an American flag. They had a wall around there where people could leave different messages or whatever they wanted, you know, about loved ones. And I drew an American flag and said whatever, and God bless America. And then I went back, I think a few years later, and I noticed they had blackened over the entire memorial wall with paint. And I felt very sad that they had taken everybody's sentiments and just basically just. But there was no way they could keep it anyway, because it was just a temporary wall, and they wanted to put that memorial up there. So, you know, basically that's my experience with what I went through with 9/11. I really didn't have anybody I knew that was up there. But the feeling of, you know, it changed America forever. I just, you know, it's just unbelievable with the amount of patriotism we saw. You know, flags in every window. And, you know, united for that short period of time. I just wish that it could just stay that way. Somebody said that they haven't seen that kind of unity in the country since Pearl Harbor in 1941. You know, when we were brought together and that kind of thing. And anyway, God bless America. It was a great. I can't say it's a great experience.
It's weird. It's really weird that this gentleman ultimately had this weird tie to this 9/11 video, and also was at this Charlie Kirk assassination. Really, there's nothing else I got out of any of this gentleman right here, other than he was causing a ruckus. They told him to shoot him, and he told them to shoot him, and he was screaming he has the right to remain silent. We can watch this other video on it. Same guy.
Shoot me! Shoot me! Was that you? We don't know if it's him or not.
So that's another video of just that guy. Nothing more really came out of it. Nothing else came of it. I seen there was another couple posts or questions about this other shooter with a gun that they found in a city type area we'll just take a look at this tweet. This is from Casey Ryback. So this gun, where it looked like it was an airsoft gun, and people were like, oh, that's not it. I agree with them. I don't think this is it either. This is definitely a airsoft gun or an air rifle, whatever it is, the airsoft or air pellet, air rifle. It is not, the shooter was not it. I think this was an older gentleman also, white hair kind of thing. Not much came out of that also. There was also some weird speculation about his ring. He had a ring on his, it has to be his left hand. He had a ring on his left hand. And that same ring had it was able to open and close freely. So I remember there was like, oh, look, it's AI or something, because it was on this finger when he was shot. And then right after he was shot, it was on this finger. Well, here's a video to get rid of that notion. As you can see, it opens. His ring opens, it moves. I forgot the name of it, but it opens. So I don't think that was really anything. I didn't really want to go down the rabbit hole on that one much more. We can get into the rabbit hole of how this guy showed up. So there was videos going around of his sniper nest or his spot where he started shooting from, took a single shot from, and then more videos started coming out and more footage of house cameras and stuff like that. There was this one camera where they were saying that he was walking through with the limp, and there was this idea of the gun being, I guess, hidden in his pants leg. I think that was a theory too. Let's switch over to that so you guys can see it. And I don't think there's any volume on this, but you can see here that the shooter starts walking across. He obviously has a weird limp, but what they were saying that this shooter was walking with that limp because he was hiding the gun in his pant leg. We'll go over the specs in a little bit, but oh man, that's just really looking at this. You can just see that there's no way he's going to hold his gun in there. Like, we'll go watch it again. You're talking a full rifle, full length rifle that is not broken down, cannot break down, nothing like that. And he's trying to hide it in there with the scope on it, everything like that, all in his skin tight pants. Granted, this is pretty grainy. You can't really see. This is from TMZ. But to me, that just doesn't seem plausible. And then later on, we have the same footage of the same guy, they think, running the opposite direction and coming out the other direction now. Crouched down, running behind there, popping out. I think it was just behind these bushes here. There it is. Pops out just behind the bushes there. I can see it being plausible that that was the shooter, that could have been the shooter, that might have been the shooter. I could see it plausible for sure. He looks the same, wearing the same clothes, that kind of thing. But carrying a gun like that, I don't think it's going to happen. I want somebody to go out there in same height, same build, skinny tight jeans like that, put a gun in their pants and walk how he was bending his leg right there. I don't think you'll be able to see him bending his leg at all. That's just my humble opinion. I just don't see it happening. And then we go into the next scenario where he jumped off of the building after shooting. We haven't even got to the shooting yet, but where he jumps off the building and hides this weapon in the woods. But from the police report, from the press release, from everything that was given, it was said from when he took the shot at Charlie Kirk, hitting him in the neck, he stood up, ran to the other end of the building. Instead of taking the stairs to get down how he first entered the first time, he hops off the building. But before hopping off the building, he disassembled the rifle to carry it with him, only to reassemble it after getting down off the building in the woods and leaving it in the woods. And then later on, texting his buddy about where he can get it. So we'll get into that, but let's watch this video of him jumping off the roof. I know it's a little grainy, but take a hard look at this. Watch this. All right. I'm not saying that's like 100% proof. It's pretty grainy. It's pretty diluted down. If we take out what the police report said, what the FBI said, what everybody said, and just leave this gun whole right now, right? And he has it wrapped up in that shirt. So the gun's whole, wrapped up in that sweater, in that shirt, or in that backpack, whatever he has, sets it down. He's still holding it. Swings it over. You can sort of see it being long. And then he picks up and moves. But then you have to believe that what the FBI said about the gun being disassembled before he got off the roof was a lie. So then you have to believe that that's a lie. So going back to this view, let's watch it again. Now the gun is disassembled, is what the FBI said. He jumps down with his disassembled gun, lands, and runs off. That's what the FBI has said. Here's another view. We'll see it right at the top right here. Running across. You can see him in the glass running across the back. Let's go back and watch that again. So he runs across. You see him running all the way across. During that time, he's trying to disassemble this rifle. Remember that. From what the FBI said. It's where he jumps down. This is where that video comes from. There he goes. He jumps down. Looks like it hurt himself a little. Same right leg limping. But then going off of what the FBI says, so he jumps down with the whole weapon, or with the weapon disassembled, runs to the woods, reassembles it, leaves it sitting down in that neatly packaged area or in the box. I don't know if it was in the box or it was just transported later with that. Does all that, gets over there, and is able to reassemble the weapon and then run off. And later on, he ends up telling his friend or his roommate, which he gets this information from. We'll bring him up later too. But his roommate, about the weapon and where it was placed and things like that. Here's some more information if you guys want. This is from Mia. She posted this about Utah County Police scanner appears to provide Charlie Kirk shooting suspect with a description. Just east of the library, he was wearing jeans, black shirt, black mask, long rifle. You can go ahead and take a listen to this if you want. It's a good listen. We won't do it here. Here's another tweet I found. This is from MJ Truth Ultra. So this was on September 11th. This was a tweet yesterday that was posted. give you guys that time to pause it right here. You could read about this, but this was about the aircraft that was flying and the radar went off. So you could read this whole thing, but the main thing is this is just them justifying it in a sense, but it says yesterday at approximately 1:20 p.m. Mountain, a private aircraft owned by one of our companies with the tail number yada 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 departed Provo Airport in pursuit of a pre-scheduled flight plan. So it pretty much just tells you the timeline, how it went down, and this company is actually just explaining themselves. That's what I found on it. Nothing really came of it after that. I never really dug into it much more. There was also the actual guy that was talking about the trans shooter and stats on that, his questioning of Charlie Kirk during the assassination. So this is what I found on him. He actually came out and gave about a 3-minute talk about everything.
Video. It's been a rough 24 hours. This last person to talk to Charlie Kirk, here's maybe a better vantage point of me. So I'll give you some background. I made a video maybe about a week or two ago, I think. I'll play clips so it's clear about what's going on.
Oh my God. So Charlie Kirk just said that the suspected Minneapolis school shooter was trans. First Nashville, now this. How many times makes a trend? Probably the only way to do this is to have an ungodly amount of time to parse through all of the 6,000 mass shootings that have ever happened in the history of America. I mean, Charlie's counting on the fact that only a psycho would do all that. Trans people are surprisingly and extremely nonviolent. Now, while I was scrolling Charlie Kirk's video, I noticed that he was touring America, and he was touring universities specifically. And one of these caught my eye because one of these is the university I'm currently going to.
Obviously, that university was UVU, where I currently go to school, and I'm getting a degree in mathematics in. I'm not going to show a video of what happened, mostly because I can barely watch it. But yeah, here's what I asked. I asked, do you know how many transgender Americans have been mass shooters in the last 10 years? Too many. I said the number's 5, counting or non-counting gang violence. Pop is heard. Shout out to CNN for fact-checking me and saying I'm right. First off, you sick fucking psychos that think this is the answer. It's not. I don't know what else to say. It's fucking not. It's awful, and a father doesn't have his kids anymore. Charlie had 2 kids and a wife. And like, not to make this about me, but I have 2 kids and a wife. And if my 1-year-old boy, like his 1-year-old boy, will grow up without memories of his dad, it's a tragedy. And it's hard to grapple with. And I'm part of a community that's struggling to grapple with it right now. And people have obviously pointed to the irony that the point that I was trying to make is how peaceful the left was right before he got shot. And that only makes sense if we stay peaceful. And as much as I disagree with Charlie Kirk, I'm on the record for how much I disagree with Charlie Kirk, but like, man, dude, he is still a human being. Have we forgotten that? Are we crazy? Like, I stand by so little of everything that he said, but one of the things that he stood by was conversation. And I also just if you ever feel like you want to comment with your little conspiracy theory on what happened on the event, you are not helping anything, actually. I've been talking to the police. We're good, thank you. And if you're salivating about what happened, don't. I don't know if any of my audience is, but if you are, you're not part of what I'm trying to build here at all.
So what's your thoughts on that? Like, I get it. I think he's genuine. I think he didn't have anything to do with it. I don't think he meant it. I am going to be one of those people that pull into this conspiracy and start dragging more thoughts and more, I don't know, deep diving into this subject. I want to hear every angle. I want to see every angle. I want to feel every angle. I want to actually deep dive into everything. I think he was genuine. I don't think he knew what was going on. I don't think his questions even had anything to do with it. I think he was caught up in a situation and he doesn't know how to even deal with it himself. He just watched someone die right in front of his face. He's going to be traumatized for the rest of his life for it. So, all right, we'll hop back into this actual weapon that he used. So I found this tweet from Mad Vision Nod. So this just tells you what the Mosin Nagant was. So the Mosin was a hunting rifle roughly 42 inches long, almost 4 feet long. So you're going to tell me he's going to hide that inside his pants, down his pants leg, up his shirt with a scope on it too. And it weighed about 9 pounds, 9.5 pounds. So let that sink in. A almost 10-pound rifle with the scope, I bet you it was closer to 10 pounds. 10-pound rifle hitting up this guy's pants leg that's almost 4 feet long. You guys let me know what you think about it, but I don't think it's happening. So, all right, so we went down that path of that. And is it going to happen? Is he going to hide that? And also, go back to that video that we were watching earlier with him jumping off of the roof with this so-called weapon. Did you guys see a 4-foot-long weapon being hurled off of that roof or jumped down with him or anything like that? I don't see it. There was also speculations about him wearing a plate or a vest or anything like that. It's probably going to get a little gruesome, but I thought the same thing. I thought maybe a plate, he was wearing some kind of soft armor, something like that, some good stuff, some high-tech stuff, probably the best quality he can get. And then there was a point where I seen video footage and close-up camera angles and stuff that it doesn't look like he's wearing I don't think he's wearing any kind of vest at all. Nothing. I think the shooter shot him through the neck, and that chest pumping that you guys seen, if we can take a look at this right here, this actual chest where it looked like it was impacted, I think that is the pressure. When that round went in there and it expanded inside his chest cavity, I think that's what you're seeing. Just that initial pressure, that overpressure, that round entering his chest kind of pressure. As gruesome as it is, I think I've seen rounds do similar things to people, not in slow motion, not like this, but the aftermath of it. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I don't think there's really much going into that also. Now, back to the actual college. The college was just renovated by, I forgot the name of the company that actually renovated it, but they did a full schematics. They renovated a bunch of areas into it, and they also upgraded the camera system with thousands of cameras. I want to see this footage. Where is this footage? There was a Ryan Matta. He did here, let me just bring it up. He did a great video on this 3.5 minute long video based on the Utah Valley University Communication Guide. He found the schematics. They have it all. He found everything. And there was 1,500 to 2,500 1080p HD CCT cameras in that area. Not specifically on the actual shooting area, but on the college. So let's watch this real quick. This is a good video to watch.
I just tracked down the internal documents from Utah Valley University that shows the exact type of security cameras that were used, and we got a lot of questions. You're going to want to see this. This is their own internal document showing us the roof access point and exactly how the cameras were mounted at the university where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So the first thing I want to point out, it's Utah Valley University. This is their telecommunication distribution guide of June 1st of 2022. So this is when they last were updating and installing new security cameras. So the Utah Valley University Telecommunication Distribution Guide of June 1st of 2022. If you go through this document, it talks about how they're actually adding new cables and they're going to be adding cameras at specific areas all throughout the school. So basically, you should have at least some security footage at this school from newer camera models from at least 2022, but how many? So we want to talk about how many cameras are on these universities or college campuses. And I just kind of took an average over here so we can see St. John's University based off the amount of kids that we have at campus, based off the amount of cameras. So anytime a university has roughly over 30,000 students, you're looking at least over 15, if not 1,800 cameras. And then I go, well, how about Utah? Well, Utah Valley University is one of the only ones where I couldn't get an accurate number of cameras, but they have 45,000 students. So if you have a university that has 45,000 students, you would think that you would have roughly over 2,000. But I asked Grok, and Grok for some reason says, well, 500 to 70 is the estimate, or 500 to 700, because we don't have an accurate number. Okay, so now we're going to talk about this other campus of theirs. So this is at the Utah Valley University, the Wasatch campus. So this is going to give us an idea of how these cameras were set up, just so everybody has an idea. And I got to zoom in really quick here, so I'm just going to kind of hold the camera back here a little bit. A complete video surveillance system shall be provided. An Arlington-specific system will be provided with local recordings. The CCTV system includes controls for visual monitoring of building perimeters, all building entry points, exit points at select main buildings, thoroughface, elevator lobbies, and at select sensitive interior areas. High megapixel cameras will monitor exterior areas, including the building's perimeter. Fixed megapixel cameras will monitor designated locations inside the building. Cameras will be installed in appropriately rated enclosures. Signals from the cameras will be connected to a central switching, a multiplexing system with a minimum 21-inch video monitor for viewing. All camera images will be digitally recorded by NVRs that are local area network accessible. Additionally, cameras will be capable of being monitored and controlled at remote locations via the LAN. Provide NVR with 50% spare channels. Cameras shall be fixed with 1080p HD IP cameras, and this is attached to a meeting date of 8/6/2024. So this leaves us with a lot more questions. For example, what is the FBI hiding? We have the opportunity as citizens to come together as a collective and really hunt and find down this bad guy. But we want to know, how did he leave the campus? How did he leave the parking lot? Why are we not getting the video surveillance footage which could help us identify this guy? They have 1080p HD cameras that were surveilling this man on probably multiple different locations throughout that campus. So if this is the guy that they claim was on the roof, then we should 100% have video surveillance of the man leaving the roof. Check this out. This is their own internal document showing us the roof access point and exactly how the cameras were mounted at the university where Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So at that campus, that shooter could have not been on the roof without being within 20 or 30 feet of a 1080p HD surveillance camera that was most likely installed between 2022 and 2024.
He did a pretty good video on this and showing all that. If we go back to that video of the shooter running across the actual top of the building and stuff, see if I can find it. Oh man, I have so many tabs open now. In any of those, here we go, I found it. In all those video footage, you don't see a camera on any of these corners just like that. This one is a good video to watch because we can see across the whole thing. Not a single camera on that building. Even on the second floor. Now, how did that happen? How did we go into there and not see a single camera on top of that building? Where were we? I have so many. Okay, so looking at that video footage and stuff like that, where are the cameras? What is the FBI not telling us? Why are they not releasing this footage? Is there any more? Did they actually do the upgrade? Did they launder the money? Did they hide the money? Have they been using it for other nefarious things? I don't know. Maybe that's more questions to dig into. Where is this camera system? All right, here's another tweet from Candace Owens. So more people were involved and we need to know whom. A lot of school shootings are related to Discord chats, so we're underground emerging and we need to know who the directors are of it. All right, so this is coming into where the shooter's roommate said that he was communicating with him on Discord. And we've known, like, from Discord, from a lot of these other chats, Reddit, things like that, that a lot of radicals are being pulled and taught, and trans things are being taught in these liberal places where speech is almost not monitored. And there's a lot of weird stuff. I have a teenage son, and he talks some crazy stuff right now that half the stuff I don't understand it. It's just their weird language, whatever their generation is taught this, like skibbity and no cap and these weird things that I just don't understand. And so these are being said without any supervision, censorship, anything like that. I don't want censorship, but I do think there need to be some supervision in things like Discord and stuff like that. but someone provided, or so Tyler Robinson was communicating with someone on Discord prior to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And that even goes to what the governor was even saying about the same thing, that the cops, the governor, everybody said that he was communicating with people through Discord, through this server. They were also, a lot of it went to this roommate. There was even things saying that he was living with his parents and things like that, which I don't think he was. I think he was living with this roommate right here, this Lance Twiggins. I started to get a little bit more information before I came on here and started talking about this. But so what I've came up with and what I understand from the different releases that the FBI has said, his family was very MAGA or conservative or Republican. And he was the one outlier. There was discussions about how he was talking about how much he hated Charlie Kirk and things like that, and the way he was believing and the way he was talking. He didn't like that. Even on a lot of positions within his family was left-leaning positions. He ended up going to college about when he got accepted. There was even a video about him getting accepted into another university right there in Utah. This was his roommate that the authorities were talking about that was getting information from him on Discord. And his roommate ends up being this Lance Twiggs, who is 22. So his roommate, we could watch this video. It's very short. So he just seems very young, a little naive, but he ends up being transgender also. That's what my understanding is. That's what the reporting is. That's what's coming out right now, is that he's transgender. Some of the ways he's dressing is a lot of these younger kids dress like that in that weird ways. Weird to us, weird to me, I guess. But it's just their thing. But he ended up having a roommate and not living with his family or his parents. He's in college. This is some of the internal documents that has been released about this gentleman. His birthday, I think, was like April 13th. He ended up being arrested for felony discharge of a firearm, obstruction of justice, and aggravated murder. There was also a lot of speculation online about his political beliefs. He was not registered as anything. He wasn't registered as an independent or anything in the last 2020 election. I couldn't find anything on him now, but there was speculation that he was a Republican because he registered then. Well, he wasn't even old enough to vote in the last election in 2020, so he wasn't registered then. So that ends up being false. Let's see. His birthplace and weight. Yeah, he was born in 2003. So he was still 17 in 2020 for that election. So he wasn't able to vote on this one. I can't find anything on what he voted for this time. Seems to be leaning. But this next tweet comes from, so Anomaly, like, there is no footage. There is footage of the shooter, but where is the college footage again? Like, nothing is released from the college at all. Nothing from there. Crazy to me. This goes to the Ben Shapiro saga. So with all of the, seems like, turmoil between Ben Shapiro and Charlie Kirk, especially with him calling him out and getting some eyebrow-raising reaction from Ben Shapiro, this is what I found from Raw's Alert. Watch as Ben Shapiro announces that he'll be going to college campuses across country to say we will never stop debating and discussing. So Ben Shapiro is literally trying to step in the exact place literally days after Charlie Kirk's death now to take over his same position. Is that not exactly what we're calling Israel is trying to do, is control the media, control the populace, control the people, control the narrative, and now they have Ben Shapiro announcing that he's going to do the exact same thing that Charlie Kirk was doing, but with his message. He's going to be doing pro-Israel. You will not see or hear anything that is anti-Israel coming out of Ben Shapiro's mouth. Let's listen to hear what he has to say.
It's still up to us. I saw a lot of rumors online today. I was made aware of this by my team that I canceled some sort of college tour. That's bullshit. I saw those rumors. They are false. I will be coming to college campuses, many of them this year. So will we all, I am sure, because we're Americans and we're not going to be deterred. Charlie's voice is not silent.
I'm not going to lie. I can't even listen to this. I listened to this earlier a couple times, and I just can't do it anymore. If you guys want to listen to it, you guys definitely can. I do not support this at all. And this goes back to the full circle. These are just a couple of the last of my pages that I found that I wanted to just harp on right at the end. Really hit on and show you guys that Charlie Kirk was rumored to deny the invitation from Netanyahu. Let that sink in. He denied it. He was like, I am not going. I do not want to. I will never do it. Here's another glimpse video I saw of a eagle coin being placed with Charlie Kirk. I believe this is coming from his wife. True American patriot. Here's another tweet from Candace Owens. So she commented on this gentleman. I do not want to butcher his name, but so Charlie was about to lose his last major donor because he refused to ban Tucker Carlson from events. That goes back to Tucker Carlson speaking out against Israel. And he has been for months, maybe years, for a long time. But it's been louder here recently. And even more people, even the call from the Democrats to cancel Israel. They're done with Israel. They're calling for Palestine. They're done with Israel. And now you're starting to hear people like Charlie Kirk, InfoWars, Candace Owens. You're having Tucker Carlson call out Israel. And now people like me, everyday average Americans, starting to call out Israel. So they're getting it from both sides. They fund both sides also, which is crazy to me. Like, why? They want that political power. All right, so Charlie Kirk was about to lose his last major donor because he refused to ban Tucker Carlson from events. There's a lot of people shedding crocodile tears. The billionaires must be exposed for the cretins they are. Candace Owens' tweet to this was Bibi also spoke about how he called Charlie Kirk 2 weeks ago, inviting him to Israel. The phone call was lacking context. He should have provided the proper context of what and who inspired him to make the call, exactly how Charlie replied to the invite. I know there's more into that. I cannot dig any more into it. I think that was it. I'm going to have to end it here, and you guys let me know what you think. But just going over all this information and showing how even now inside the Republican Party, they're calling for the end of Israel's influence. They want to stop that. Ben Shapiro coming out and say he's going to replace Charlie Kirk is not that answer. I'm not a cancel somebody kind of person, but I'm not going to watch Ben Shapiro. I haven't watched him for years. Just not my kind of dude. But I could tell you right now that we need to dig more into this Israel thing. The Jeffrey Epstein files that are coming out, so many ties to Israel constantly. Mossad, Israel, Elaine Maxwell, her ties to Mossad with her father. The 9/11 stuff that's coming out. We need to really dig into 9/11. How have they released those files? And now Charlie Kirk being shot by possibly a Israeli agent. And is this kid the fall guy? Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about this theory. Comment down below. Make sure you guys give me a like, share, and subscribe. And let's keep this momentum going. Thank you. I appreciate it. This is the Jesse James Show. I'm your host, Jesse James, former Green Beret and entrepreneur, just trying to get my voice heard. Thank you. Appreciate all you guys who watched.
Cross my heart and hope to die. Welcome to my dark side.